Good morning. Morning. I'd like to welcome everybody on this beautiful morning to our inaugural St. Petersburg Veterans Day celebration. And I'm very happy with the turnout this morning. I didn't know what to expect having an 8 o'clock start, because when I was personally inviting people, when they asked me the time, I said 8 o'clock, I usually got a groan. But I'm glad we're all here, and I'm glad I'm out in this beautiful morning. I'm Cliff Smith, and I'm the manager of Veterans, Social, and Homeless Services for the city of St. Pete. And I can't tell you how proud I am that our city is hosting this historic event. This may be our first Veterans Day celebration, but I guarantee you it will not be our last. We plan on making this an annual event, and I think given the setting and our beautiful city, it's going to be one of the premier Veterans Day celebrations in Tampa Bay. This is a great day to be an American. Today, it is our privilege to say thank you to all of our veterans, to let you know we appreciate you for your sacrifices that you've made for our country and for our freedom. And I feel honored to be standing here today to say thank you for your bravery and your service to our nation. We owe you a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. You've protected our democracy, our freedom, and our American way of life. And I'd also like to say thank you to the families whose support made their loved ones' service to our country possible. I would like to introduce Gina Maniaci, team leader with the St. Petersburg Vet Center. And Gina has helped us plan today's event. And I really have to give Gina a lot of the credit for us being here today. She contacted the mayor a few months ago and asked the city to consider hosting an event on Veterans Day. And of course, we thought it was a great idea. And so we've been working and planning, and Gina's been a big part of that. So Gina, would you please come up and say a few words?
Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Happy Veterans Day. And, of course, to my Marines, happy belated birthday. Anybody in here? No Marines? Wow, that's a first. I didn't prepare any speeches because I don't want to be too long, but I do want to thank this city and especially the mayor's office for really listening to me this time. I've been trying to get something going for a little while now because of one of my really good veterans that's been coming to the Vet Center for a very long time. Said, how come the city of St. Petersburg doesn't do anything for Veterans Day? And my response has always been, well, we go to Bay Pines. We just go to Bay Pines. I said, well, can't we do both? So thanks to Cliff and everybody that's really helped out with this. It's great to see a lot of people on our first event, and maybe one of these years down the road we can have a big parade. So just a quick commercial about the St. Petersburg Vet Center. The whole Vet Center program started in 1979. We were a program that started for Vietnam veterans by Vietnam veterans. I'm not a Vietnam veteran, but I'm a child of one. So this program is very special to all of us. We've been around very long, and we've been told we're the best kept secret of the VA, so don't believe everything you read. We take care of our veterans who served in a combat zone and any of our veterans who experience military sexual trauma. That is our main goal, and we want to do everything we can to help our veterans readjust. So if our veterans need readjustment counseling for the rest of their life, we will be there for them. So far, we have not been told otherwise. So again, we've been around since '79. We have no plans to go anywhere. Unfortunately, we continue to have wars that brings in more veterans to our program. So it would be great if we could stop the wars and we wouldn't have any more eligible veterans, but at this point, we will continue to see all of our veterans. I have one veteran who's 97 years old from World War II, so I will see him until he doesn't need to see me anymore. And I think my youngest is probably in their 20s. So for all the veterans that experience any type of war zone issues or sexual trauma, please don't hesitate to call. There's over 300 of the vet centers throughout the country, so you can just Google us, Vet Center, and you can find the location of the nearest vet center near you. Of course, we're over by Chili's restaurant near Tyrone Mall. There's also one in Clearwater, and we're all over the state. And if you have friends or family that are needing some services, please look us up and you'll find the closest one to where they live if they're out of state. So I'll be here after the program if anybody wants to talk to me, and I'll give you information about the Vet Center in more detail. But again, thanks for all coming to this event, and I'm really glad to be a part of this today.
I would next like to introduce B. Griswold, who served on St. Pete City Council from 1993 to 2001. B's family has a long history of service to our country. This is amazing. Her parents, mom and dad, both served in the Navy during World War I. She had two brothers that served in World War II, a brother that served in the Korean War, and her late husband, Bill Griswold, served in World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. And Bill Griswold was also a member of St. Pete City Council. And B and Bill were really instrumental in getting this beautiful Veterans Memorial erected here in Williams Park. Bill started the ball going, he formed a committee, and B saw it through until it was erected. So we have the Griswolds to thank for this beautiful memorial, and I'm just so pleased that we can have this here, this event in this beautiful location. So B, could you please come up and say a few words? Thank you.
Goodness, thank you very much. And it's so wonderful to see what is happening here today. It's, a long time waiting. It took 10 years from the time Bill first started working on this with a committee, and it really belongs to the citizens of St. Petersburg because they paid for it by donations from the neighborhood associations, donations from the military organizations, the legions, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars groups, and all of the people built this. And now our Mayor Kreisman, thank you so much for making sure with all of your good helpers that this got warranted your attention today. When I was going on 11 years old, a very famous event happened in the United States of America. On that day, my co-worker in elementary school and I had just borrowed a horse and buggy because we were going farm to pick up the papers or the flattened tins or the milkweed pods or anything that helped the World War II effort. And those things we brought to our elementary school. And we also went farm to farm trying to get more people to buy war bonds and stamps. We were successful in that 9-person, one-room school to buy enough war bonds to have a group of soldiers in Germany write us a thank you letter for the Jeep that our money had paid for. It was a different time, but what we need to do and forever do is make the veterans the first people in our lives to realize without them our lives would not be in this free country of ours. And I've always thought that the best way we can thank the veterans, outside of all the things that are obvious that we need to do, we need to live our lives in the way of freedom and all those responsibilities of freedom that they fought, died for, and did for us to keep it with us. And that's my thought on Veterans Day, as I thank all of those veterans, and you do too, by your presence here. It's been a great pleasure to be asked to even be here today, and it's nice to see some of the same old faces I've known for a long time. And keep on keeping on. Thank you.
It's my privilege to introduce City Council Member Bill Dudley. Council Member Dudley, or Coach as he is affectionately known, has been a City Council member since January 2008, and is currently serving as the chair of our city council. Councilmember Dudley served our community for 38 years as a school teacher. That's amazing. He was elected to the Northeast High School Hall of Fame in 2010 and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame in August of 2014. That's pretty cool. And anyone who attended Northeast High most likely took their driver's education from Coach Dudley. Coach is known as a strong proponent in our city for our veterans. And when I asked him would he be willing to speak this morning, he said it would be my great honor to do so. Coach Dudley.
Thank you all for coming, and it is a great honor and privilege to be here to honor the warriors, soldiers who have stepped up to defend this great nation. From 1776, well, I see 1775, but close enough for government work, to the present day. We have asked our young men and women to go out and defend our nation. And they have done so with admiration, and it is that reason that we're able to stand here this morning on this beautiful day and honor them. We have sent them all parts of the world, some in combat, some not. Some have returned, and some have not. I'd like to pay homage to two. You have to excuse me. The first gentleman, Terry Dixon, and he sat next to me in homeroom throughout high school. He was killed in Vietnam and on Thai Ninh province on April 8th, 1967. If you go to panel 17E, line 121, you'll see Terrence Glade Dixon's name. The other one is Major James Blair White. Jim White was president of the student body at Northeast High School. You may know his father was General White. They resided here for many years. And his brother, Ed White, was the astronaut. Jim White was killed in Liz, Laos, January 24th, 1974. It was on his last mission before he was to rotate home. He's MIA. You can find his name on panel 16W, line 119. And I mention that, and it's certainly not to, we've had other veterans from St. Petersburg who paid the ultimate sacrifice. I understand that. This is a personal thing to me because I knew these guys. And I would also like to make special mention to my two brothers, my brother Bob, my brother Fred, who was with us today for their military service. And we have a long history of it in our family. And although Fred does like to tell everybody he was in the Civil War, but that's not the case. He was a Korean War veteran. And my brother was the end of World War II, my other brother. And in closing, I would just like to say that anytime you see a vet, not just today, today's important, obviously, but anytime you see a vet, you should thank them because they made the sacrifice to do what they did. And I see my nephew, Dwight, back there, state legislator, and I see Dwight's dad was my brother. And I'd like to, again, and just in closing, just thank a vet. We owe them a great deal, and we need to continue to treat them with the dignity that they deserve. And God bless all of you, and as Lee Greenwood's song said, God bless the USA. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. That was wonderful. It is my great privilege to introduce our next speaker, St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Kreisman. Mayor Kreisman is the reason we're here today. Serving our veterans and their families is one of the major initiatives of his administration. Shortly after taking office, Mayor Kreisman joined with mayors around the country in the Mayor's Challenge to End Veteran Homelessness. It is our city's goal to end homelessness for our veterans and to ensure that each one has decent, safe, and affordable housing by the end of 2015. And it's something that we are hard at work on and I believe is truly achievable. And Mayor Kreisman will be presenting the 2014 Honored Veteran Award. Mayor Kreisman.
Thank you, Coach Dudley, and thank you, Cliff, to you and your entire team for all the hard work that you've done in putting this event here today. It's really a great job. I want to thank all of you for being here today. This is the perfect start to a very special day here in St. Petersburg and all around our nation. And I am so pleased that we're able to do this here in Williams Park and at this very impressive monument. B, I'd like you to, if you would, please come back up here for a moment. I want to thank you for your service to our city and for your husband's service, not just to our city, but to our country. And I want to thank you for being with us here today. And if you'll.
Oh, thank you. May I say one more thing?
Sure.
I want to say thank you, but I forgot that at the end of that story I told the year was 1945 and the day was when President Roosevelt died. That's why it was historic, and I forgot to tell him that. Thank you for
Thanks, B. To the veterans in attendance here today, whether you served in times of peace, in a conflict, or a war, the city of St. Petersburg thanks you. Today is for you. Today is also the start of what I hope is a new tradition. We will gather each Veterans Day at this site, and in addition to honoring all of our veterans, we will recognize a veteran who has meant a great deal to the city of St. Petersburg. And this year, that veteran is Herb Polson. Herb Polson served in the U.S. Navy for a total of 31 years in both active and reserve status. He was a sailor for 10 years before being commissioned as an intelligence officer. He last served overseas in the Middle East in 2003. His last assignment was with the forward headquarters of the U.S. Command, where he served as congressional liaison for 2 different generals. And he did all of this while also serving the city of St. Petersburg. Herb worked for the city of St. Petersburg for a total of 30 years and capped off his service to the city by serving as the council member from District 1 from 2007 through 2012. I must say Herb had really big shoes to fill when he took over District 1, as he was my successor on City Council. Simply put, our city and our country are better off because of Herb Polson. Herb, would you please come up here? So today I'd like to present the 2014 Veterans Day Ceremony Honored Veteran to Herb Polson for your dedicated service to our city and our country. Herb.
About a month ago, Rick called me and said he had the idea of doing something for Veterans Day at this monument that Bill Griswold dreamed up, and his wife made sure it happened, which is kind of way life goes for guys in the married world. One starts it and the other one finishes it. And so as Rick was telling me what his plans were, I was listening, and at the same time I'm thinking of who do I believe is a person that should be awarded. I thought it was a friend of mine that's a Medal of Honor recipient. I had 3 different generals that I had in mind, and I had several other friends that served with me or I heard about, and I was ready for him to stop talking so I could give him my list of who I thought was the recipients. And before I could speak, he said, "I want you to do it." And I said, "I'm not worthy." I still believe that. But in reflection, I think about when I joined the Navy in 1969 and my first deployment on a cruise, on a destroyer out of Charleston, was out into the Atlantic because a tropical storm was coming. And the Navy, in their wisdom, thinks it's better to be out at sea bouncing around than it is to be at the port bouncing around against the wharf. So that was an interesting trip. In 1981, I find myself walking along with the Marine Corps on the fence line in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, looking up at the Cubans, the communist soldiers that were looking at us, looking at them. And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. And then in 1990, the 90s, I have to tell my wife that I'm being deployed for something called Desert Storm. And I thought, whoa. And then along comes the 2000s, and I'm told I'm going to be deployed for something called Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. And here I was in the desert. We landed in an airplane. There we were told to turn all the lights off inside the plane and close all the curtains. We landed in the middle of the desert in the middle of the night so no one could shoot at us. And I thought, this isn't good. You know, I'm 55 years old. I'm older than the generals and the admirals I'm working for. But it never stopped me. And I love that experience. I came home and told my wife, I'm at terminal rank, I'm not going to get promoted. I've spent 31 years doing this, and it was probably time to give it up. And it was the best time of my life, until today. So when I finish here today, I'll go home and take off my suit. I'll put on my desert boots, and I'll put on pieces of my uniform that I last wore in 2003, and I'll go to Bay Pines, and I will hang around with my fellow veterans. They'll tell me stories, I'll tell them stories. They'll lie to me, and I'll lie back to them. And we will have a wonderful day. And so again, I go back to saying I'm not worthy, but thank you so much.
Congratulations, Urban. You definitely are worthy. And I want to thank all of you for being here today to honor our veterans and for opening your hearts in gratitude to those who have served our country. May God bless you, and may God bless our country.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for being here today, and the sun is certainly shining on St. Petersburg once again today. Special thanks to Gary Cornwell, our city administrator, Chris Guella, our human resources administrator, and the entire city team for all of their hard work on this important issue, and a special thanks to Robert Danielson, the city's marketing director, and our LGBT liaison for the city of St. Petersburg. In fact, Robert, in his capacity as our LGBT liaison, represents a distinguished point of pride for this city and is one of the reasons that we are here today. Today, thanks to the work that we have undertaken at the city on behalf of the LGBT community, and thanks to the work Robert continues, we are announcing a significant increase in our Municipal Quality Index rating. The Municipal Equality Index is a rating system utilized by the Human Rights Campaign, the largest civil rights organization working to achieve equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered Americans. This index examines the laws, policies, and services of municipalities and rates them on the basis of their inclusivity of our LGBT friends and neighbors. Now, last year, St. Petersburg was ranked 66. This year, our score is 100. And I'm proud to say our score is the best in the Tampa Bay region. Now, this dramatic increase in our score is not an accident. Here in St. Petersburg, we have a vision for our city. We will be a city of opportunity where the sun shines on all who come to live, work, and play. And that means all of us, including those in the LGBT community. But we also recognize that diversity, inclusion, and opportunity is good for business. Our St. Pete Pride event has an estimated economic impact that exceeds $10 million a year. And as it always is, we never do our good work alone. Alongside with the St. Petersburg Area Chamber of Commerce's Diversity Committee, with elected leadership and city staff, we made a concerted effort to boost our score. And today, we can celebrate that collaborative effort on behalf of all of St. Petersburg. So it's my honor, and I'd now like to introduce Xavier Persad, the Legislative Counsel for the Human Rights Campaign in Washington, D.C. Xavier?
Good morning. I'm so excited to be here today to celebrate the tremendous strides St. Petersburg has made toward LGBT equality. Today, the Human Rights Campaign releases its third annual Municipal Equality Index, the only nationwide rating system of LGBT inclusion in municipal law and policy. This year, MEI rated 353 cities across the country, including 15 cities right here in Florida. As a native Floridian, I could not be more proud of this year's results. Over the past 2 years, no MEI-rated city in Florida achieved higher than 89 points. But this year, I'm proud to announce that St. Petersburg, joined by Orlando and Wilton Manors, becomes one of the first ever MEI-rated cities in Florida to achieve a perfect 100-point score. This represents a remarkable 54-point increase since St. Petersburg was first rated in 2012. This accomplishment places the city well above the national average of 59 points and the statewide average of 65. St. Petersburg has the added distinction of being one of only 23 cities that earned top scores with no help from state law. These numbers represent more than just accolades. They stand for hard-won protections that are making a real and immediate difference in the lives of people who live and work here. In just the past few months, St. Petersburg rewrote its city employment non-discrimination policy to include gender identity. It strengthened its employee LGBT diversity training program and extended employee leave policies to same-sex families. Moreover, Mayor Kreisman appointed liaisons to the LGBT community in his office as well as the police department. Thank you for taking these tremendous steps toward greater equality and inclusion, and congratulations to the City of St. Petersburg for its perfect score this year. Thank you to everyone who helped make this possible, Mayor Kreisman, City Council, and our wonderful partners over at Equality Florida. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Brian Winfield, Managing Director of Equality Florida.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Brian Winfield, Managing Director for Equality Florida. And I just want to say it is no surprise and no incident that Equality Florida's headquarters is located right here in St. Petersburg. We were founded in the Tampa Bay area out of an effort to protect non-discrimination protections for LGBT people in Hillsborough and Tampa back in '95. And for 17 years, Equality Florida has been working very hard across the state on behalf of the LGBT community. And we could not possibly be prouder than to stand with St. Petersburg today and with Mayor Rick Kreisman, who I can tell you for as long as I can remember has been an absolute champion on the issue of LGBT civil rights, whether it was on the city council or in Tallahassee or now in the mayor's office. So we appreciate his longtime committed support to LGBT civil rights And I think today's score of a perfect 100 from the Municipal Equality Index is just one measure of the evolution that St. Petersburg is going through. We transitioned to a mayor who saw the value in diversity and began to open the door to LGBT supportive policies, and was somebody we could really work with. And today, we have a mayor who has a long history, decades-long history, of being a champion on our issues. So St. Petersburg is certainly certainly a city of evolution, and we certainly appreciate that. We're also aware that community support for diversity is absolutely a driving force in where people choose to live, work, and play. This is actually not rocket science. When a city supports diversity, what it's really doing is supporting its people, because we are all different. And when we see a city who supports the differences in other people, we're confident that they're going to support and recognize and respect the differences in ourselves. When a city celebrates its people celebrate it. And I think what's going on here is that St. Petersburg is becoming a city that people are in love with. And economic development will absolutely follow when you become a city that people love. So thank you, Mayor Kressman. Thank you, St. Petersburg. And congratulations on your perfect score of 100 on the Municipal Equality Index.
And now I'd like to introduce the President and CEO of the St. Petersburg Area Chamber of Commerce, Chris Steinacher. Chris.
Congratulations, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. So today's recognition is exciting news. This is about economic development. And Mayor, I just want to thank you and your entire team for taking the commitment seriously and showing that we are the community that we all know we are, which is that welcoming. We have the welcome mat out today. Good communities understand that the communities that are going to win are those that attract talent, that attract innovation, that attract creativity. And in order to do that, you have to make sure the welcome mat is out for everybody. Our chamber about 2 years ago created a diversity and inclusiveness task force led by Nick Corris of Florida Blue. We set out to make sure that this community and all of our businesses understand everything we can do to be the destination in Florida where people want to come, where they feel welcome, where they feel like they can contribute. Just around the corner at our greenhouse is another partnership between the city and the chamber to make sure that businesses, that every individual feels welcome to start and grow their business here. Today's announcement, today's score, today's commitment to all that shows that this is not just talk, this is real actions. These are things the city has done to ensure that the business community feels supported, ensures the business community feels like they are wanted here, that creativity does indeed shine in St. Petersburg. Today is a great announcement. We worked hard for it. We need to celebrate it, but we need to continue on. This is about growing a community that everyone wants to be in, everybody wants to contribute in, everybody wants to live in. Today's a great start to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being with us today to celebrate this great day. Thanks so much.